USC loses 2 starters on offense to the transfer portal because the money doesn't add up. The Dodgers' offseason plans have apparently come into focus thanks to not getting Juan Soto, and the house cleaning at Angel City FC is gaining momentum. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the Faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is December 10th, 2024, back in Portland, where the Wi-Fi sucks even more than the Trailblazers. We have added new subscribers to the Angeleno Familia yesterday. We are going to do our best to keep you informed. And if you like being in the know about LA sports, click the like button. Click the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment, because I try to get back to each and every one of you. Now, before we go through the news and notes, we have a look at the scoreboard. And it's super quick. There weren't any games involving LA teams yesterday. Meanwhile, today, the Kings are at the New York Islanders at 4:30. Side note, defenseman Caleb Jones cleared waivers, and he was promptly told to go to the IE. Raise up the 909. They're getting themselves a defenseman. Yikes. What do you say we get to the news? Because I'm not an expert in minor league hockey. Give me a few minutes to get this out of my system here. I want to blow your mind a little bit with the state of college football, because it's morphing into something I totally don't recognize. To be clear, I do believe athletes should get paid, because the amount of money in college football is absolutely astronomical. But back when I was a sports writer, a wide receiver who shall remain unnamed once told me why his ultimate goal was not to win the Super Bowl. It's because back when he played, the bonuses that you got for playoff wins was chump change. Say you're a wide receiver and you sign a contract for $16-17 million. Okay? That does not include the playoffs unless they put in an extra bonus, which they probably won't. So you go from $1 million a week to maybe $100,000. Do you really want to take an even bigger risk to play in a game and go for some title by playing 4 games at about minimum wage, which is a drastic pay cut? So, as you might imagine, that was my introduction. You see, all the money you got comes in the regular season. So as you might imagine, that was my introduction into the gun-for-hire nature of professional sports. I say all of this to remind you that the college football that you used to enjoy no longer exists. This is no longer about Fight On or the 8 clap over in Westwood. These football players, every last one of them, are now hired guns, and most of them can't even legally drink, which means that they're, frankly, emotionally and intellectually immature. They make rash decisions. Most of them are teenagers, for Pete's sake. So I use that as your introduction. 2 projected starters for USC's offense entered the transfer portal on Monday. Running back Quentin Joyner and right tackle Mason Murphy. Now, losing them for the bowl game will sting. It's a wound. Starting with Joyner. Without injured starting running back Woody Marks, Joyner was going to start in place of him, the Trojans are down to 3rd string back Brian Jackson, a freshman for the Las Vegas Bowl. But here's the thing. If you look at the numbers, Joyner was in line to become the next great Trojans running back, even without student body right. He averaged more than 7 yards a carry. He led the Big Ten Conference in yards per carry, 478 and 63 attempts. We went into the season thinking Zachariah Branch was going to be the game-breaking threat. It probably wouldn't have been for next year. It should have been Joyner, breaking one long run after another. And now it might not just be backup quarterback that's the priority for USC in the transfer portal. They're going to want a game-breaking running back. They had one. Then you remember that right tackle. Murphy started 12 games for the Trojans. He was on the field for 860 snaps. In the last 5 games of the season, he was not credited with allowing a single sack. Now, all of this taken in a vacuum. You look at that, and that's a reason for Lincoln Riley's haters to grab another Molotov cocktail and throw it. But before you light the fuse, because I'm not going to debate that too much, I understand why people don't like Lincoln Riley. Before you light that fuse, ask yourself this question. Where in the hell is the house of victory? Look, why do players choose colleges now? You could say wins and losses. You could say the scheme that would maximize your abilities to impress the NFL. But is it really? Because then you keep looking at these other factors that people used to have when they were choosing a college to play for. Is it playing time? No. Joyner was in the catbird seat for next year. Murphy already was a starter. And nobody who is leaving is blaming Lincoln Riley. They all say they liked playing at USC. So, you throw all those factors and what do you have left? Money. NIL. And Riley does not control those purse strings. The House of Victory does. And keep in mind, USC was super slow out of the NIL gate. They've had multiple false starts with collectives that didn't work. The Conquest Collective, the Tommy Group. Anybody remember the Boulevard? So then Riley goes out, having lost 2 key starters, and he said something shocking. That despite Joyner's abilities, despite Murphy's stability, maybe those 2 aren't cost effective for the USC budget. Cost effective. Quote, we're a college model, and that's becoming a professional model. I know some people don't want to say that, but it's here. The reality is there's just some guys that you either can't or are not going to pay what they want. If your value doesn't match the money, then it's not going to go well much longer. There's a cutthroat part of that. That's just part of being a professional organization, unquote. That is an incredible quote. Absolutely incredible. Do you know what that hints at? It's entirely possible. I'm not saying I know this is a fact, but it is entirely possible that Joyner, for instance, knew he was in a position to start, went to Riley's office and demanded more money immediately. Now, again, not saying he did, but could you see that happening? I can. What's to stop him? What's to stop him? And what the hell is in these contracts that the athletes sign? In the NFL, it's all geared to protect the team, and I'm not saying that's fair either. The contracts a player signs in the NFL pretty much barely worth the paper it's printed on. But in the college game, it appears to be all geared now to favor the student over the school. Because apparently you can just tear them up at any time with little to no consequence. To be frank, the more I think about it, the first solution to level the playing field where there might be fairness between school and team is to delay the transfer portal until after the championship game. Because it totally appears to me that these players are using it as leverage for instant last-second pay hikes. So, it is absolutely fair for a lot of you to criticize a number of things about Riley's tenure with the Men of Troy. But understand, they are no longer the Men of Troy. Over at UCLA, consider quarterback Justin Martin clearly ahead of everyone else to be the Bruins leader for next year under center. They're no longer the Sons of Westwood either. He left for the transfer portal. They are not Men of Troy or Sons of Westwood. They are mercenaries. And they are willing to bail on their commitment at any time. And that is the memo. Got a lot to discuss today. It's not crystal clear, but we have a much better idea on the Dodgers' approach to defending their title after losing out on Juan Soto. From the sound of it, they didn't appear to be particularly disappointed in losing the Yankee slugger, now Mets slugger. There might be some who laugh about the Dodgers missing out on a generational talent. Everybody outside of LA loves to talk crap about the Dodgers. But how soon they forget. The Dodgers already have multiple generational talents that are already on the roster. Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, remember them? No? So here's what we know now about the Dodger offseason. Ohtani will not pitch until he's damn good and ready. That means that it's highly unlikely he's going to pitch in the 2-game series in Japan in March. He's highly unlikely to take the mound, thus saith Dave Roberts. Now, what Ohtani has been doing is he's been playing catch from 60 feet away. He also hasn't been swinging a bat yet. Recall, he had surgery to repair a labrum on the shoulder that he injured while sliding during the World Series. Then you look at Mookie Betts. He's officially a shortstop again. This is according to general manager Brandon Gomes. I remember, Mookie Betts needed a GPS to find first base. We all know this. But he apparently believes that playing the infield is what's going to help him maintain his health now that he's in his 30s. Gomes is saying that the added practice time in the offseason will improve his accuracy throwing to first. As a result of it, you're nudging Gavin Lux back over to second. And as for the outfield, you have newly signed Michael Conforto, who should be an everyday player in the outfield, over in one of the corner outfield spots, I should say, with Tommy Edman in center. They have not closed the door on a Teoscar Hernandez reunion. Meanwhile, multiple sources told The Athletic the Dodgers are forced on relief pitching for the remainder of the offseason. The sources claim the Dodgers are pursuing free agent Tanner Scott, who was last seen pitching for Slime Diego, or trading for Milwaukee closer Devin Williams. A lot of soccer we've been talking about over the last 3 days, and obviously I'm not complaining. I want to give you updates on all 3 local soccer teams, starting with the one that is the biggest dumpster fire. Angel City FC has fired head coach Becky Tweed on Monday. She barely had a year on the job, taking over on an interim basis back in June of 2023. That time, Tweed finagled the team into the NWSL playoffs for the only time in its history. They were bounced in the first round. And as for this year, Angel City finished 12th in a 14-team league. The most valuable team in all of women's sports. 12th. 7 years all year. I mean, you look at it from that angle, how the hell surprised should anybody be, right? They got rid of the general manager last week. Now, whoever the replacement GM is going to be, that person is going to want to bring in their own coach to run things. I've mentioned this before because I really like this saying. It's from the LA Rams front office. If it's inevitable, make it immediate. So frankly, this is the right call. But the roster still requires a massive overhaul. I don't believe for one moment that Angel City is one player away. The franchise is a marketing force. They have a cool looking logo. They do a hell of a lot of community outreach. All of those things are secondary to winning matches. And throughout its brief history, Angel City hasn't mastered that. They haven't grasped that concept. Meanwhile, less than 48 hours after the Galaxy hoisted MLS Cup, a brief free agent window opened in Major League Soccer. Why was it only a half day? Damned if I know. But I will admit, LAFC made a sensible move. They retained center back Aaron Long. The new deal is reported to run through 2027, which pretty much means a former U.S. men's national team member is going to retire in black and gold. LAFC has 20 players under contract. They got a lot of work ahead of them. Then LAFC turned around and sent forward Tomas Angel to expansion side San Diego FC. That dude was never going to get off the bench with LAFC. They've invested, he's a forward. They've already invested a lot in Dennis Bouanga, which makes a ton of sense, and Olivier Giroud, which so far hasn't really made any sense at all. And then you look to the champs. I don't want to go overboard on Galaxy roster predictions. Unless, say, a European team makes this ridiculous offer for Gabriel Peck, Joseph Paintsil, even the injured Ricky Puig. Because aside from that, I don't see a lot of major changes coming. I think they're going to enjoy their championship. They know that their roster is young. They know that their roster is skilled. They know the roster is deep. You look across the board, there are very few players where you could say, I see the Galaxy getting rid of that guy. For example, they're overjoyed with the quick progress of center back Emiro Garces. I think among the players who are out of contract, I think Mark Delgado stays. I know Maya Yoshida is out of contract. I think he wants to stay in LA. I think they'll hash something out. Same for Gaston Brugman. It's very difficult to imagine the Galaxy letting the MVP of MLS Cup Finals walk. I think Brugman stays. So again, I wouldn't expect this earth-shattering offseason in Carson. Galaxy fans should be very happy that they can be very content with a peaceful time off. I don't know why Ty Lue decided to reveal what the Lakers offered him to be their head coach. It was years ago. You're coaching the Clippers, you get paid, it's cool, right? But he went on a podcast hosted by Stephen A. Myth and said the Lakers, quote, offered me the job on a 3-year basis and they wanted to pick my coaching staff. And I just wasn't going to do that. For me to be a championship coach, to take a 3-year deal when everyone else was getting 5-year deals and more money, and then you want to pick my staff as well? I thought that was a slap in the face. As a young black head coach, I just thought it was a bad example I was setting up for other guys coming up after me, unquote. Now, I don't think race should be brought into this. I'm by no means an expert on race, but look, the Lakers have a lengthy history of trying to micromanage all of their coaches. All of them. Literally, they are colorblind when it comes to micromanagement. And by the way, they also like to pay their coaches in food stamps. We know this. It's unfortunate, but we know this. You think J.J. Redick was given complete control over anything? Coach Lue, you won the argument. You got paid. Laker fans would have loved to have seen you on the sidelines with the purple and gold. There's no need to reopen that mess years after the fact. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, about the unfortunate developments, how money has taken over college football, and the players, wow, they will stab your school in the back, just like that. Or for that matter, about the Dodgers offseason plans. And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.